Yeah. Yeah.
That's a big pregnant pause. Well, I grew up in the Bronx, and I used to be a breakdancer. And we used to dress up just like the comic book characters, unfortunately. See, in the early 70s, everybody wore bell bottoms, but not breakdancers. We wore tight leg bottom outfits because it was more, it facilitated doing the moves to us. Now, of course, if you look at all the comic characters, they seem to all wear tights and things of that nature. Now, I've never seen the, I don't know where that came from. There's kids here, so I don't want to go off on that tangent, but...
What is that?
Robin came from some kind of carnival atmosphere. I don't know.
He was the boy wonder.
Yeah, you wondered about that one. In my case, I think back to African Bambadas, and we keep bringing him up, but he had a single called Renegades of Funk, and it was drawn just like a comic book cover. And that all came out of actually the P-Funk era, with Parliament Funkadelic, George Clinton's whole crew, and dude with the diaper, Michael Hampton rocking the diaper, That whole thing was like, everybody had to be a character, and hip-hop at the time, it couldn't really compete with an Earth, Wind & Fire show, which was like, if anybody's ever seen an Earth, Wind & Fire show, I guess that show my age too. But back in those days, these dudes had costumes, and they had Doug Henning do magic tricks on stage, and it was like, well, you're just two dudes with a microphone and a set of turntables, that's not gonna work. So Bam would come out with the costumes and the cape and the whole Greek mythology thing, and it was always good to use that as an escapism. Comic books, I learned how to read when I was very young using comic books. I started reading when I was like 3. And I started with Fantastic Four. But I was a Spider-Man fan. I was
The comic book or the rap book? Because I started with the Fantastic Four MCs.
I started with both, actually. But yeah, the comic book, my father bought that to me, and I don't know if you ever got an allowance.
Yeah, I had to save my allowance to get my comic books.
Yeah, I got 25 cents. Now, the comic books were 15 cents at the time. Now, really show me. Right. So I got to buy a comic book and get some gum. Exactly. I got to get Bazooka Joe, and I got to get that. And I didn't really eat candy, so.
Bazooka Joe had a comic.
Bazooka Joe had a comic, yeah, exactly right. And eventually the comics went up to a quarter, and I had to beg my father for more allowance, and that's the way it worked. But it was either that or candy and soda like everybody else, and I opted for the comic book. And as a result, I actually, became a little more advanced in my vocabulary, because, comics do have an advanced vocabulary for young kids. I remember being asked what does espionage mean when I was in 4th grade. I was getting quizzed, because I was getting quizzed by NYU's department, because they wanted to put me in a special program. And they didn't believe that I was as smart as my grades said they was. They said there must have been a fluke. So they started asking me questions, and one of them was espionage. If I didn't read comics that had S.H.I.E.L.D., I wouldn't have known espionage. I'm like, oh, I know that. That's Supreme Headquarters International Espionage Organization. I'm like, what? I'm like, never mind, I know what it means. It means spy stuff. They're like, wow, this guy's smart. So it definitely helped me, in retrospect, school-wise, but also, again, the creative aspect, just like Dee and Chuck said, well, very, very right. I mean, as a breakdancer, everybody had to have their superpower move. My power move was, I did these things called 1990s. That's where you stand on one hand and you spin around forever. I learned it from Freddie Fresh, who was real dope, and Freddie was Fresh. And my move, that was my power move. So they said, well, Juice is going to do his power move. So everybody would step back and go, ooh, and I would come up and do these flares, and it was like, oh, and it was like, that was my Superman, my superpower move. So, everything was related to comics to me, so that's how I do my thing, so I hope when you join me in the next comic book,